Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter Podcast. Today is going to be our first NBA episode. We haven't done a lot of really anything other than football for the past few pretty much weeks now because we just have not been able to really do much else. We've been kind of busy. So this is our first this is like we haven't done a ton of non-football stuff, but football season is over. We have nothing else to do. But no better time to get into the NBA and start talking about NBA basketball than, well, right now. Because the NBA playoffs, the brackets are here. It's time for playoff season. Here we come, baby. We got the play-in games starting tomorrow. They'll go on Wednesday, and then the last one will happen on Friday. Of course, you got because of the play-in tournament, you got the 9 and 10 seeds playing each other, the 7 and 8 seeds. Loser of 7-8 and winner of 9-10 play each other on Friday on in both the East and the West. I know, confusing system. Um, and then you'll have the actual playoff games, like the actual, I think what they call the actual playoffs, start Saturday. So let's get into it. It's going to be a fun season. We've got some interesting moves that some teams made as of just recently. I'm going to get into that in a second because we have a couple teams that, did that very thing that I'll talk about. And then we'll get into some other surprises as well. But let's get into the beginning of this because this might take a little bit to get through. Don't have Sam or Serbinsky here, unfortunately. Neither one of them were available. Both of them were busy. I mean, as I said, we all have jobs that we have to do. We all have other stuff that we got to do, so not necessarily always going to be available. All of us are not necessarily going to be available all the time. So, it is what it is. I know you guys been. I saw a comment recently. Um, I don't have a mic. I used to have a headset when I was still at my mom and dad's because I just got to use theirs, but I don't really get to. I don't have that anymore. Because obviously I moved out, and well, I didn't get to keep the headset with me, so I don't have a headset. And I've tried using like I had a PS4 earbud. I tried using that. That didn't really work. I tried to use these too, and well, that didn't work either. It's a old pair of like Apple earpods from like ages ago. That didn't really do much either. So as of right now, I just don't have a headset. I'll just go without it for the time being. Um, so yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. Um, and then, of course, in terms of other stuff, like I said, we're gonna do the NBA today. MLB video will probably come out next week, or I'm sorry, NFL video. Excuse me, will probably come out next week. We are getting very close to the NFL draft, which will be in Green Bay, Wisconsin this year. That's still weird to say. Um, so NFL draft coming up next week, next weekend, I should say. So I'll be putting in a like mock draft first round mock draft video come next Monday. Stay tuned for that. And then start the first week of May, of course, will be the monthly MLB video going over the regular season, how it's gone thus far. I'll just do that every month to make it easy on myself. So I'm not doing one literally every week because that would be a lot to go over. Makes it a lot simpler. Just kind of jumble it into all one month rather than, one week, because one week of baseball is still a lot of baseball, and that's a lot of videos to do. Um, so yeah, enough of me yip yapping. Um, let's get into the NBA. NBA playoff time, baby. So let's start with believe no, this is the Wednesday game. Let's start with the 9-10 game. Well, let's start. I'm already in the West, so I'll just start in the West, and then we'll go to the East play-in tournament. We'll just go with both play-in tournaments first, and then we'll get into the actual we'll go round by round. So going to the play-in tournament on the West side of things, we have the Sacramento Kings taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Now, like I said, we never did an NBA video all season. So both these teams have had a lot of change during the trade deadline. Dallas being the most confusing, obviously, and and then Sacramento, of course, with I think Fox requested a trade out of Sacramento. I think he requested a trade. I don't remember if he requested a trade or if they just ended up trading him, one or the other. But anyway, both of these teams have seen a lot of change. Dallas, of course, with the absolute mind-boggling Luca trade, which I still to this day do not understand what on earth they were thinking. As for Sacramento, you trade away De'Aaron Fox. I think he's requested out, so makes sense. You end up getting Zach LaVine for him. Not a terrible move. You got some draft picks as well, so works pretty well for you. Um, but for this game, I really I don't trust Dallas. I mean, you look at really, and they're one of a couple teams really in the West that I don't trust right now. We'll get to the other ones in a minute, but like with with Dallas, you trade away Luca, which is really the heart and soul of your franchise. With absolutely told, literally no one. I mean, nobody obviously saw this coming, and you just up and trade him for essentially no reason at all. Yeah, he was a little out of shape. Yeah, he was a little hurt all the time, but I mean, the dude was even in his out of shape state. You could casually still put up 70 points. I don't understand what the thought process there was. And then, of course, and you want to say, oh, well, they're worried about injuries. Okay, well, Anthony Davis ain't no Iron Man. So, what are we really doing here? But with Dallas, I do not trust this team. This team is a mess right now. They're headed for for a long off season, and I really would not expect good things for Dallas. So I'm going to give this one to Sacramento. I think at home they defend home court. They move on in the play-in tournament because 9-10 losers out, winner just moves on for another game. Again, like I said earlier, a little bit of a confusing system, but Sacramento I have the um, beating the Dallas Mavericks, and then we go down to the 7-8 game here. Winner takes on the Houston Rockets. It's the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I talked about Dallas with teams I don't really trust right now. Memphis is one of them. And really, and the confusing thing about this one is they're the fourth seed in the playoffs and fired their head coach. And you could say, oh well, maybe there was some scandal or something. He assaulted some woman, or there was something else that happened away from the court that made them go, okay, we can't keep employing this guy, and made and that was what forced them to end up firing him. I went a little dark with the whole assault thing. But something happened off the court, away from the actual play, from the actual game. That made them end up firing them. At least that's what you would think, but that wasn't the case. Now, yes, they had struggled a little bit when they ended up firing them. They had lost a couple games in a row. However, the Grizzlies were still the number 4 seed in the playoffs. So I really don't. And at that point, they were 44-29. So with only 9 games left in the regular season, fired their head coach. Why? I don't know. Especially when this is the guy that literally has given them by far the most success out of really any coach they've ever had. And you want to say, oh, well, this guy's never won anything. What has Memphis really done with him being at the helm? They keep getting high seeds and they keep losing. Okay, you know, yes, you're not wrong. They have had highest seeds, and they have consistently seemed to lose. But I think people forget to mention that the teams that they played when they lost as those high seeds are the Warriors and the Lakers. just the teams that have Steph Curry and LeBron James on them. That's all. I don't care what seed those two are. If you have to deal with them in the playoffs, good luck. That's just me. And again, you don't want to, get blown out. They made it competitive, and they just ended up falling short both times. But that's the Warriors and the Lakers. That's Steph Curry and LeBron James, arguably two of the best players to ever do it in all of NBA history, almost at this point. Certainly LeBron. I'd say Steph's getting there too. So to really blame that on the head coach is a little harsh. And and when you do that with only 9 games left in the regular season, you oust the head coach. It really does not set a good precedent, and it kind of looks bad. And I'm not sure the team is really all for it either. But in any case, I am certainly taking Golden State to win this one. Like I said, I do not trust the Grizzlies right now. It's not pretty over there. I would not touch this Grizzly team with a 10-foot pole. It's scary for them. I don't trust anyone who does that. It's a bad look. It's a bad move, and it ain't smart. And so now we'll go to so Warriors will take on the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, and then you have fighting for the 8th seed that gets right to play OKC. It'll be the Grizzlies and the Kings, and like I said earlier, no faith in this Memphis team right now. Yes, they were 4-5 with their new head coach, but I really just don't trust Memphis. I am not buying it with the Grizzlies right now. It just you don't fire your head coach with only 9 games left. You don't do that. I don't understand what the process is there. Like why on earth, like I said, that's been the best that he's done more for them than he really does than anyone else has for him. Taylor Jenkins has been great for Memphis. Minus the 1 year when they lost everybody due to injuries. You know, so you oust the lone guy that's brought you success only 9 games before you're supposed to get to the playoffs? To me, that's just not a smart move. And so, yeah, I have the Kings. Like I said, just zero faith in Memphis right now. Um, absolutely no belief in that team. I would, like I said, not touching them with a 10-foot pole. So now we go to the East. And the West is this year. You saw the records. The West is way better than the East. Just gonna put it at that because you can see who 9 seed is. We got the Bulls and the Heat. Um, Miami obviously had a bit of some issues. Ended up losing Jimmy Butler. Obviously that whole mess really wanted out of Miami and would not take no for an answer. And eventually got his way when he got traded to the Golden State Warriors. Now he's playing with Steph Curry. Not Miami problem anymore. But really they have just not played well since he has left. And that's kind of understandable. I mean, Jimmy Butler, you saw what he did with Miami Heat the previous years. Like, yikes. That guy is nasty. So, for Miami, post Butler era, can they beat the Bulls? I think so. This is a bad Bulls team. This is a team that was in essentially tank mode, but just they ended up but they ended up making it because everybody else in the East is bad. And Miami had a really bad stretch. I think they're a better team than Chicago. I think Miami gets it done here. They move on to the they move on. They get a shot at the 8th seed, where it'll take the loser of Orlando and Atlanta. And this should be a very entertaining game. Memphis and Golden State should be solid too. This game, I think, is going to be a lot of fireworks. Because Atlanta is well known for one thing and one thing only, and it has been their thing for quite some time, and that is offense. They want to score, and they want to score a lot. This team does not want to play defense. They want to they want to outscore you. They want to just, beat you with offense. Orlando, the Magic is very much the opposite. They, you want kind of like a essentially, to kind of look at it this way between these two. It's a very, very contrasting style of play. The Atlanta Hawks scored the fifth most points in all of basketball in all the NBA this year. Why am I fumbling over my words here? The Atlanta Hawks scored the fifth most points per game in the NBA, as opposed to Orlando Magic, who scored the fifth least. Now, in terms of points per game, in terms of defense, the Orlando Magic give up nearly 2 points less per game than anybody else in all of the NBA. Meanwhile, the Hawks give up the fourth most, almost tied with the Bulls for third. So, if that's any indication that these two have drastically different styles of play, I don't know what is. But if there's I think the way this will go, I think the Magic get the better of the Hawks here. They'll get the right to play the Celtics in round two. That should be a very fun game, though. I am expecting that to be highly entertaining. Both those teams are very good. Atlanta certainly has shown that they can, they're hot offensively. They're tough, but that's the only way they're gonna win. And as for Orlando, um, a very young team, still molding, still developing, and they can be a tough out as well. So definitely excited to see that one. But I do have the Magic taking it over to Hawks. They'll get to play the Boston Celtics in the first round, and then the Atlanta Hawks will have to try a second game on Friday, where they'll get to right to play the Cavs should they knock off the Miami Heat, of which I think they will. Miami's a similar team really to Orlando, where they are more defensively minded, but not without Jimmy Butler. That's really the heart and soul of their team. Without Butler there, I don't think there's really anyone to save Miami at this point. Um, so I've got the Hawks moving on to round one to take on the Cleveland Cavs, who shockingly are number one seed this year. Really did not expect that. And so Atlanta moves on, and now we go to the West, where we'll do the first round for them, and then I'll just bounce back and forth. First round, second. Keep going. Just each side just go round by round. So let's start with the OKC Thunder taking on the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are a decent team, but the way the Thunder are playing right now, I cannot pick against this team. SGA and company have absolutely dominated this year, and it really has not been that close. They have been nothing short of outstanding. It has been incredible what they have been able to do. I'm tempted to go with a sweep here, but I am going to give the Kings, I think, one at least. Well, you know what? No, I'll take a sweep. I think OKC sweeps them. It'll be close though. Oh, yeah, it's tough because no, you know what? I'll play it safe. I'll give the Kings one game at home. Sure. I'll say they avoid the sweep in the last game. It'll probably be 3-0. They win the last home game, and then OKC blows them out back at home. It's probably how that one will go. But I do have OKC moving on there. I can't pick against them the way they're playing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's been just utterly fabulous, and the rest of that team has done a fantastic job surrounding him as well. Well-rounded team. Everything about Oklahoma City is looking pretty scary right now. And next we have the 4-5 game, which should be interesting. The Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Now, I mentioned it before, with Dallas and with Memphis. But this is pertaining specifically to Memphis. I'm not trusting teams right now that just randomly fired their head coach for essentially no reason. Denver is one of them right now. And this one I really don't get. Because you can maybe argue in the case of Memphis, that yeah, the guy hasn't won anything. Now, I made my counter argument of okay, look where he's played, who he's played. But you could make that argument that he doesn't have a lot of wins. Michael Malone literally gave the Denver Nuggets their first and only NBA Finals appearance, or well, I don't know if it's appearance, but first and only NBA Finals trophy. That was the only time the franchise had ever even won the NBA Finals. And, you look at what he's done. He's built this team from the ground up. I mean, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. I mean, that's the heart and soul of that team. And Aaron Gordon, of course, is, a nice secondary piece. I think he's still there. But, he built that team from the ground up. He was the head coach the whole entire time. All those guys were there. And you're just going to can him? Because he lost a couple of games straight? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. Like I said, the Memphis one, maybe you could make an argument. I still think that one's crazy, but you maybe could make an argument for that one. You can't make an argument for this one. It's absolutely absurd. And, I'm talking a lot of crap here, and I really don't know who I'm going to pick. Because as much as I don't trust, Denver or Memphis right now, or Dallas, but that's for a different reason. But as much as I don't trust Denver or Memphis right now, in the case of Denver, the LA Clippers are like infamous for absolutely choking when it comes to the playoffs. This team just finds ways to lose. And I don't know if it'll be any different this time. Yeah, it's a different head coach, but you look at the Clippers, really, Harden and other than James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, what else do they have? I mean, oh wow, Norman Powell's actually having a good year. Go figure. They have some good players, but it's like, is that really going to be enough to beat Denver? Yeah, even, head coach is gone and it might be a little bit hectic over there, but are they really going to be able to pull it off? I mean, this is a franchise that, like I said, has found ways to lose in the playoffs. And as much as I don't trust Denver, I gotta go with them just because the Clippers are very infamous for not finding ways to win and just finding ways to blow it come playoff time. So I'm gonna go with the Nuggets. It's against my better judgment. I'll take it in 7. No, this is certainly going the distance. I do not trust Denver to do anything more than 7 games. Um, but I gotta go with Denver here. I don't trust the Clippers right now. I don't trust either of them really, but Denver has done it before. And I trust Denver to somewhat figure it out before the Clippers finally find a way to win a playoff series. So give me Denver. Next we have the LA Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We talked about Dallas undergoing quite the change with the trade. Well, the team that Luca got traded to is none other than the Lakers, of course, and it's a little different for them too. This team has certainly become much more offensive now. Without Anthony Davis down low, they really don't have a center. They don't have a big guy. Which problem with Rudy Gobert? Honestly, now that I think about it, I didn't really think about that until now. Um, so this could be an interesting series. Um, I'm taking the Lakers still though, because with Minnesota, I still think their mistake was trading Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks. I think they should have kept him. They did not. They let him go, or they traded him away to the Knicks. Got themselves Dante DiVincenzo, uh, Julius Randle, and I think it might have been a pick too. I don't remember, but I think they absolutely should have kept Cat, and the guy they should have traded is Rudy Gobert. But they end up keeping Gobert instead. Not necessarily my choice, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do, right? So I'm taking the Lakers here. I'm gonna go with 6 games. I think it'll at least be 6 games. It could be 7, but I'll stick with 6 here. I think the Lakers can get it done in Minnesota in the game 6 if need be. If need be, I think they can do it in 7 as well. But I think Lakers get it done against the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are a decent team, but you should have traded Gobert, not Cat. Uh, and lastly in the West here, before we go to the East, we have the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. New looks for both teams here, because well, sort of for Golden State, mostly for Houston now. These two do have quite the history when it comes to the NBA playoffs. You guys remember the days of Steph Curry, Steph and Clay taking on James Harden and the Rockets several times in the NBA playoffs for years upon years, of which Golden State would continually end up beating up on Port Houston. They just never could figure a way to beat the Warriors. Of course, that was the glory days for Golden State. Um, and so now you have a different look here. There's no James Harden, there's no Russell Westbrook, none of those guys are in Houston anymore. Now you got a bunch of young guys. You got Jalen Green, not Van Vliet's not young, but you got Jalen Green, you got Alperen Goon, or however you say it, Jabari Smith. You got a lot of young guys with Fred Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks in town as well. I mean, Houston's got a solid, well-rounded team. Um, I think this will be a really close one, but and this is gonna this is more so. I think everyone's gonna say like, oh, you just want the Golden State. You just want LeBron versus Steph. Yes, I do. I'm not going to I'm not going to say I don't, because legitimately I do want to see that again. But I also do think that Golden State wins this series. Houston is a relatively inexperienced team. Golden State has looked really stinking good with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry now being, obviously molded together. And with that being the case, I also think that the Warriors can handle Houston. The only issue for me would be, what would Golden State do with Sengun? Because he has been quite the force for Houston since obviously being in Houston. I don't think he's hurt. He should be good to go. But that would be my concern with Golden State is, how do they handle Alperen Sengun? What do they do with him? How they handle that situation? Because if they're able to deal with Sengun, I think they'll be more than fine. Jalen Green, I think they can certainly deal with him. Oh, I forgot about Eamon Thompson as well. Um, oh, Jabari Smith is hurt. Okay. But yeah, well, when it comes to Jalen Green, I think the Warriors can certainly handle Jalen Green. But the big thing for me is Sengun. Like, who do they have that can really handle him? Because their center is essentially Draymond Green. Can Draymond Green really handle Sengun? I don't know. So that would be my question: is can he handle Sengun? That would be the big thing for me on there, but I'll have the Warriors taking it in 7 over Houston. Now, we go to the East, where we'll have the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers. Go figure that one. They'll take on the Atlanta Hawks. I got Cleveland winning this one. Atlanta's, like I said, a very offensively minded team. They don't really know defense, so I would not expect them to really do much in this series. I do think they could win 2, though, so I'm gonna go with a 6-1-1. I'll give the Hawks 1 game. I considered 2, but nah, I'll give them 1. But Cleveland's got a solid team. They did really well this year. Last year they were a 4 seed. Ended up getting, I think it was the Magic. Yeah, they got the Magic last year as the 4 seed. And I think they ended up losing to the Celtics in the second round. So we'll see how the Cavs do this year as the number 1 seed. Go figure. Really good season for them though. We'll see if it can continues. They beat the Hawks in 5. Now we have, funnily, interestingly, actually, a playoff series rematch. This is the second straight year these two have faced. Just now, the home field is reversed. Last year, the Indiana Pacers played the Milwaukee Bucks. The Indy Pacers were the 6, and the Bucks were the 3. Now, the Pacers are the 4, and the Bucks are the 5. But now it's exact same two teams playing each other. These two know each other pretty well. They play in the same conference. They have seen each other plenty of times. They saw each other in the playoffs last year. Um, this is a tough one because both these teams kind of have a similar style of play. The Bucks are not that great of a defensive team. They probably have a little bit more defense than the Pacers do, but the Bucks still give up a decent amount of points. I mean, the Pacers are 2 points ahead in terms of offense, and they're 2 points behind in terms of defense per game. So, you can keep that one in mind there. Um, the Bucks, of course, do not have Damian Lillard. He is currently hurt. They're honestly dealing with Damian Lillard is done. I'm pretty sure for the season actually. So that really does suck if you're the Bucks. As for the Indy Pacers, everybody I think is mostly healthy for them. Uh, this is gonna be a fun series, I think overall. But in a second straight year, I think it's the Indy Pacers that get it done. Um, the Indy Pacers this is a team that's very good offensively. And last year I think they'll just repeat what they did last season because, like I said, this is mostly the same team from Milwaukee. And I think the Pacers still have the upper hand. I think last year it went to 7, or was it 6? I think it might have been 6. I think it was 6. And I'll stick with that. I'll have the Pacers win it in 6 games over the Milwaukee Bucks. They move on to the second round, take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I can't believe I'm about to say this. It still shocks me even now. The New York Knicks, being the 3 seed, back in the playoffs again, and shockingly, and I truly do mean shockingly, because if you had told me before the season this would happen, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. They'll take on the 6 seeded Detroit Pistons. I am not kidding. The Detroit Pistons are going to the playoffs. I still cannot believe I'm actually saying that. That to me it is still wild that they even are making the postseason, especially considering. I mean, when was even the last time? It's been a while since they made it to the playoffs. I don't even honestly remember. Um, I think their last season was like 2018, maybe. Um, I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm gonna look real quick here. Yeah, it was 2018, first year of Dwayne Casey. And I think the last time it really is crazy to me. It's been so long since they actually made it to the playoffs. Like I said, last time was the 2018-2019 season. They got to the first round and played the Milwaukee Bucks and they got swept. Um, but now they get the New York Knicks as the 6th seed. It's been a great season for the Pistons, who are currently actually also hunting for their first playoff win since the 2007-2008 season, which was also the last time they won a playoff series. But they haven't won a playoff game in nearly 18 years. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun because you look at both of these franchises, um, they both have been very bad. I mean, the Knicks finally saw some success last year, which they hadn't seen in a long time. And now that now they're back again this year, and then with the Pistons, yeah, they haven't seen success in a while either. So you got two franchises that are extremely hungry for some postseason success, and it should be very fun. These two teams play a very similar style of basketball. Um, I think it's either going to be in 6 or in 7, and I don't want to do this, but I gotta take the Knicks. I think they have the edge over us, a little bit more experience. I think we'll push them to the brink. I think the Knicks will have a very tough time beating the Pistons again because they play a similar style a game. So whatever Knicks are going to try and do because they like to be physical. They're a hard nosed physical basketball team. Pistons are the exact same way. You're not going to bully them. That doesn't work with Detroit. Um, I think the Pistons certainly could win this series, but I'm going to give the edge to the New York Knicks. It wouldn't surprise me if the Pistons ended up beating them. I mean, they have won uh, in the regular season series. They ended up winning 3 of the 4. So I certainly could see Detroit doing it. Am I expecting it? Not really, but I certainly could see them managing to pull this off. And then next we have the Boston Celtics playing the Orlando Magic. Orlando's a good team, but Boston is so much better. I'm taking Boston. I mean, this Boston team is still absolutely jam packed with talent from still last season, and I do not trust the. I don't think the Magic really have what it takes to really make it that competitive of a series. Like I said, they maybe get one game, but Boston's just too well rounded. They're too good overall. I think Boston ends up winning that series. Now we go to the semifinals in the West. The OKC Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. I took Denver in 7 over the Clippers. I'm not gonna take a sweep here, but OKC in 5. I do not trust Denver right now. I don't. I'm not picking Denver. I refuse to do it. You don't fire your I said there's a Memphis. I'm gonna say it with Denver. You don't fire your head coach right before the playoffs. Especially if you're about to make it. Because that's stupid. You're not making it, do whatever you want, but you're about to make the playoffs. You're actually in a pretty good position. You're actually a really good team. Makes no sense. Um, yeah, my rant's over for now. And then you'd have an epic series again with the LA Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, Steph versus LeBron again. I feel like this isn't going to happen because I picked it. I, you know, I kind of hope for this because it would be awesome to see these two go head to head again. In the event that this does happen again, now I am taking the Lakers. I think they just have a little bit more. They certainly have, I think, a little bit more talent around. I think LeBron and Luca, as opposed to Golden State has around Steph and Butler. With that being said, I do think this series probably goes the distance. I think that Golden State pushes them all the way to the brink. I think Golden State makes it very close, but I think the Lakers end up pulling through just barely, and they knock off Golden State. They get to play OKC in the uh in the in the finals for the West. Now, what the heck? The Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers looking to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight season. Kind of shocked some people last year with that. Pulling a surprise upset of the New York Knicks. Do they do it again this year by stunning the Cavs? Yes, they do. I actually have the Indiana Pacers. This is a good Cleveland team, but and consider this kind of biased because I just like how the Pacers play, because I play like that in 2K. But I think the Pacers they do have a little bit of some defensive talent. They're not total bums when it comes to defense. Now, yes, it's not their specialty, but when you look at Cleveland, yeah, they had a good overall season. Um, I'm not sure they're going to be able to knock off Indy. I think with Cleveland, it could be a similar style to the Knicks. They're not as physical of a team, but I think unless you bully the Pacers around, you're not going to be able to beat them. Because the way to beat the Indy Pacers is to make it a slow grind, physical game. or just simply outrun them, which is what Boston did last year, and they did it fairly easily. But unless you do that, unless you're Boston, or you physically grind them out, you're not gonna win. And the Pacers and the Knicks weren't able to physically grind them, and the Pacers just outran them. So I'm gonna go with a surprise here. I'm taking the Pacers to knock off the Cavs. Gonna be a little shocking, but I think I got the Pacers doing it again. And now you got the Knicks and the Celtics. Yeah, I'm sorry, Knicks. No, Boston's just too good of a team. I got 5 games here, maybe even a sweep, but I don't go that far. I got Boston 5. They're too good. They're a lethal team. They're so talented overall. It's gonna be too tough for them. Give me Boston. Now you got the Thunder and the Lakers. This should be a fun series. The Thunder have last year. Who is it they lost to last year? I'm trying to honestly remember because I don't. Was it Denver? OKC, they were the number 1 seed last year. I'm trying to remember who it was the Thunder played. They had beat the Pelicans in the first round, and then they got to the semis, and I can't remember who it was they lost to in the semis. I know the Nuggets end up losing to. Oh, I think it was actually Dallas because the Nuggets end up losing to Minnesota, and then I think Minnesota ended up losing to Dallas, and then Dallas went to the NBA Finals. So I think Dallas would have played OKC then. Okay, lost to the Mavericks last year in the second round. A little bit of a disappointing, honestly, you could say, playoff performance. I think people probably expected a little bit more from the Thunder. Now with some playoff experience under their belt, the Lakers a little limited on defense with no center anymore. I think the Thunder keep it rolling. I'm giving them a 7-game series win over the LA Lakers. They knock them off just barely, and they get to the NBA Finals, or they'll take on the winner of what ends up being a rematch in the Western Conference Final or Eastern Conference Finals between the Boston Celtics and Indy Pacers. I think Boston does it again, just this time in 6 games, as opposed to actually I think it was a sweep last year. So I'll take Boston to move on to the NBA Finals to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and between these two, between these two, man, tough one here. Because Thunder are a very young team. Do they have the experience to knock off Boston and steal and not and deny the Celtics a second straight NBA Finals title? I don't think so. I got Boston winning it all again. The Thunder, they're a young team. Listen, it would be awesome to see them do it. It'd be awesome to see the Thunder end up pulling this off, but I think at this point, the Thunder, the experience is gonna come to bite them. I think the Celtics get this one done in 6 games. Could be 7, but I'm gonna go with 6. I think the Thunder, they get the experience, they make it this far, but just a little too much for the young guns to handle. And the Boston Celtics return to glory for the second straight season and are back-to-back NBA Finals champions. So that's all I got for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, we'll have more videos coming up here. Next week, we'll have the round 1 mock draft of the NFL. We'll have some MLB videos coming up, and maybe some more NFL stuff even after that one. I don't do the NHL. I know the Stanley Cup playoffs are coming up here soon, but other than the Detroit Red Wings, I know absolutely nothing about NHL hockey. So I'll watch. I certainly do like watching hockey. I just don't know any of the players, and I could not tell you really anything. So that's all I got for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Until then, adios, everybody.